Hey guys, welcome back to the weekly Warrior Wellness Checkup. This is week 5. Y'all blew me away last week. We started the deep dive into talking about mental health, and y'all had so much to say, which was what I was after. It was what I wanted, but I'm blown away by how many comments and messages and people approach me in real life to talk about it, and I can't believe it. First things first, I try to get nicer looking for y'all for these, but in true testament to the realness of these videos, this week I'm not with it. I didn't want to, so I didn't. So for this video, just listen to what I say and focus less on what I look like, because I know I look like a trash bag and I apologize. Just got too much to do. Outside of that, let's go ahead and get started. At the end of last week's video, I said that this is one that we could open up and talk about a lot more. And after the response last week's got, I decided to go ahead and do that rather than move on to something else and circle back to it. Last week, I focused a lot on talking about anxiety. I did that because, for me personally, anxiety is what impacts my daily life the most. It is the one that in this phase of life I have the most trouble with. It's the one that really just dictates my day-to-day, how I feel, how I operate, what I get accomplished, my relationships, so on and so forth. So that was a good place to start. With that, it opens the door to a lot of different mental health struggles that we all deal with in a wide variety of. I have a visitor too, sorry. So let's open the door to that. I will start with what I like to call my rap sheet, my mental health rap sheet. Let's start at the beginning. In my lifetime, I have been diagnosed with seasonal affective disorder. I've been diagnosed with postpartum depression and anxiety. I've been diagnosed with Ptsd. I have a grab bag full of stuff. They're not ones that I talk about as much, mainly because they don't affect me constantly, or they only affected me at a specific time in my life. So let's start there. I had really bad postpartum after I had Bella. For like 3 to 6 months, I was a full-fledged psycho. I definitely, going back to last week's video, when I had Bella, I was 23, and I only had one other close friend who had already had a child, and she was definitely way past the postpartum mark when I had Bella. So I didn't really have any friends who had kids, and again, I come from a long line of women who just didn't talk about their shit. So I definitely suffered in silence. I didn't talk to anybody about it, which in hindsight, now that I'm adult and have had lots of friends who have suffered with this, I realize how incredibly dangerous that was. I should have told somebody. I should have told my doctor. I should have told friends. I should have told my mom, my grandma. I should have told somebody. I didn't. I just, made my peace with acting like and feeling like a complete psychopath for a long time. Thankfully, eventually for me, it really just went away on its own. I guess, when my hormones calmed down, it passed. And that's fortunate, be it that I didn't tell anyone what I was going through. So that was a blessing. I've had seasonal affective disorder since I was very young. Now, I didn't get diagnosed with this till much later because, again, even though the onset was when I was a child, we didn't talk about it. So, everybody just kind of said, oh, well, of course, everybody's, nastier when it's cold and rainy and whatever, but it's a real thing. I talked about this in an Instagram post last week. The second the hype of Christmas is over, meaning the excitement to keep me normal, I crash hard. I definitely, I crash and burn. From the day after Christmas until pretty much this time of the year, I'm insufferable. I'm depressed, I'm ugly, I'm nasty, I have awful thoughts. I need sun and I need serotonin. Now, when I was younger, that wasn't something that I understood about myself very well because I wasn't treated for it. I didn't talk to anybody about it. Now, as an adult, I'm very aware of what's happening and when it's going to start and when it's going to happen and what I can do to, I'm not going to say avoid because there's no avoiding it, but what I can do to help myself. I need to go outside, even if it's not very nice, even if it's just to get some air rather than sunshine. I have to go outside. I have to fight the urge to just lay down and nap every time I'm not with the shit because it just makes it worse. I have to avoid isolating myself from people I love and care about. If you ask my friends, a recurring theme of mine is I don't want to go, I just want to be invited. I live for that. I'm really bad about saying yes to going, but it is something I have to try harder to do because the isolating, the staying in the house, the napping, the not going outside, it makes it worse, and I know it. So even if I don't do better, I know better, you know. The PTSD is not one that I'm not comfortable talking about, mainly because of where it comes from. For the longest time after I got diagnosed with it, I really didn't believe I had it. I definitely feel like to that point I'd always just believed that PTSD really only affected veterans, law enforcement officers, things of that nature, people who had really seen what I felt like to be trauma. I didn't feel like my traumatic event was, I guess, worthy of having PTSD because the only people you really saw, have it were people who had just come back from war or people who had, their jobs required them to see awful, nasty shit on a daily basis. So I really had a hard time with that diagnosis, mainly because I just didn't feel like it was justified. Now, again, in the true testament of therapy and getting older, I realize now that what happened to me was very justified of having PTSD. It is still not one that I like to talk about very often. I probably, circling back to last week, this is one I probably only said out loud last year for the first time. And, a lot of that is because of why I have it. It is definitely a harder story to tell. It might not be one I talk about publicly for many years to come or ever, but I can finally say the words, I have PTSD. That's definitely, anxiety is one that I deal with every day. It is one that I have to actively battle the hardest because it's about the dumbest shit. And if you have it, you understand that anxiety messes with us over the dumbest shit. I can have a slew of real issues in front of me, tasks, issues, problems, stressors, and I'm chill. But let something small and irrelevant pop up in the middle of my day, and I can't handle my life that fast. It's ridiculous. Now, while anxiety is a consistent issue, the PTSD is one that comes out of nowhere. It is probably the one that I have the least control of because I don't know when something's going to trigger that. I think as we get older and we open the conversation about our mental health struggles and we talk to professionals and we get the medicine, then we definitely start the process to making sure we know what our triggers are. There are a lot of things that I know will get me. I know. Obviously, I don't have postpartum anymore because my factory is closed. So that one's off the table. I know for my seasonal affective disorder that right around Christmas it's going to start and I need to be ready. With my anxiety, I know that certain things are going to bother me. Some come out of nowhere, and that's just going to be forever. I know that. And then some I can actively avoid. You know, there are a lot of things that I know upset me and get me going fast, and I try to avoid that. Or I go into those situations knowing what's going to happen, and I prepare. The other ones you're not going to be able to do anything with. The PTSD is definitely the hardest because I don't know. I don't know when it's going to happen. And it's definitely the one that I have the most physical response to. Something that my therapist has worked with me a lot on is identifying how I'm reacting. Is this a mental response? Is my brain going haywire? Or is this a physical response? Which one is coming from the trigger? With anxiety, I definitely feel both. There's definitely a mental element and a physical element. However, with PTSD, it's really all physical because your brain just kind of short circuits and you just react. You don't have time to think, and then you just react. That one's difficult. I have known quite a few other people that have had it. You know, I've talked to them about it, and I definitely feel like they feel the same. I definitely don't think it's as common or, I don't know the word. I don't know as many people that suffer from it. Maybe this video will let me know that there are more of you out there too. Like, again, that was the hardest one for me to even acknowledge because I didn't feel justified to even have it. So there's that. And that's just my rap sheet. I know that there are I have close friends who have OCD, like the real kind, the on paper kind, not the organize their pantry kind. I know people who have severe clinical depression. I think I'm pretty fortunate to where I've never really experienced that. I would say that any kind of depressive episode I've ever had was situational, not clinical, so I'm fortunate in that regard. But I know a lot of people that do. I've definitely watched people I really care about struggle hardcore with, months of just not being able to shower or get out of bed, basic tasks. In that post that I made on Instagram, I talked about how this year was a year of weird accomplishments. I know a lot of people who achieved a lot of great things this past year. And when I say achieved, I mean, they finished a bachelor's degree, or they started a business, or they got married, had kids, the big ones, things we consider big, And I know a lot of people who, in their own arena, they just survived, and that was huge. A lot of people lost loved ones, businesses, jobs, careers, a lot. And some days, just being able to get up out of bed and take a shower and leave your house is just as big of a deal as getting a bachelor's degree. I think the way that we process accomplishments and achievements is pretty whack, honestly, because what's big to me might not be big to you, and vice versa. I know for me, in total transparency, like today, some days it's hard for me to even get in front of y'all and talk to you. Some days it's hard for me to take a shower, talk to people who I really love and care about. And then some days, that's it. I'm getting ready to run out of time, so I'm going to stop us there. I think I'm going to make this a continuous one for a week or two. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them here or send them to me privately. A lot of y'all did that last week, and I thought that was great. Thank you again for sharing with me all your stuff. I can't wait to hear what y'all have to say about this one this time. If you have anything you want to talk about for the next one, definitely send me that too. And until then, I hope all of you have a great week, and I can't wait to see you next Monday.